All right, and we're here. All right, everybody, what's going on? This is the Ryan Report Podcast, Unlimited Leeway Life. We are back with another episode, and today's guest is my good friend. He's an artist. He does a lot of things. We'll let him explain some of the things that he does later on in the podcast, but he does amazing artwork, visual art that you can definitely check out. And we're going to have an interesting conversation today. My guest today is Jourdan Barnes. How are you doing, man? Hold on. I got this thing. Oh, no, not that. This thing. Yeah. Boom. Get you some claps in. That's how we go do that.
Thank you.
How you doing, bro?
I'm doing pretty good.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Everything's nice? Everything's good? Today's been pretty chill?
Yeah. Today's a beautiful day. I'm in a good space.
That's good.
I'm in a good space.
That's good. It's hot. It's very hot. And
Yeah.
my air conditioning went out. Like on my way back from Arizona. My air conditioning went out in New Mexico on the way back from Arizona.
In your car?
In my car.
Yikes.
I was in the desert when my air went out.
Okay.
You know?
Yeah,
So I drove 17 hours on my beater and with the window down.
It's not fun.
It wasn't very fun, but the crazy thing is the desert is a lot cooler than Louisiana.
Is it? Yeah, because I guess it's like dry, so.
The desert was like 90 at the highest,
Mm-hmm.
and then 60 at night.
Man, I would have been miserable.
Yeah.
I need AC.
Yeah.
Only time I don't need AC is if I'm like being cheap.
Yeah.
So you'll
I'm
walk in my
thinking
house
about
and be
waiting
hot.
it out until the winter. I'm thinking about doing that, but I don't know.
What winter?
What winter?
Yeah.
But
We're just gonna, like the universe is just gonna skip over winter. Cause yeah, we may have that one good week where it's cold,
yeah.
but yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know if it's gonna get too cold here.
Yeah.
We were having hurricanes last year for Halloween.
Right.
That's when it, yeah.
Yeah, something's going on.
Yeah.
Something's going on. I'm gonna get a meteorologist in here. Tell me where he's whipping that up at.
Right.
Where he's
They
starting all of
honestly
this
don't
stuff.
know. Like I should have went to school to be a meteorologist because they just say it's gonna rain or it's gonna be sunny, but it's never like on point, especially in New Orleans.
Right.
Like, yeah, can't believe them.
Yeah. So that's what I've been dealing with. But yeah, man. Here we are, man. This is episode 3, and today is gonna be a very, very dope conversation. Today's going to be a very interesting conversation, and today's going to be a very necessary conversation, especially in 2021. And that's why I brought my homie Jourdan in today. And we will be talking about, to put it simply, we're going to be talking about a lot of stuff, but we're going to be talking about the title, the description probably going to say, we're going to be talking about sexuality. We're going to be talking about some of the concepts that are presented within the LGBTQ community, get some insight on kind of your observation of those things and how you feel about these things, what a lot of them mean for the people that may not know. Some of these things I do not know, so we're going to be talking about that. Jourdan will be educating me as well as the guests on some of these concepts, and we're just going to be running it, really.
I'm gonna try. I'm gonna try.
All right, man. You're representing today, bro.
Yeah, you have your tissue. I don't want to start crying on your podcast.
Oh, man. I got some towels over there. I did. Because it was hot. Man, I looked like... We're not going to get there. Like, I looked crazy in my car coming there. So, that's what we'll be talking about today. This might end up being a 2-part episode, but we're going to get it cracking with... I got some notes. So, I looked this up. First of all, I looked this up before I got here. I kind of knew what it was, but because I put words together and kind of can context my way to understand what they mean. But I wanted you to explain to me, in terms of sexuality, what does non-binary mean?
So it's almost like, I mean, it's, the term, like non-binary. So when you think of binary, you're thinking of two. Yeah. You're thinking of one or the other. Male, female, man, woman. But when you think of non-binary, these individuals don't identify with either or. So like they're non-binary. So I don't want to be identified as someone who's a woman or man. I just want to be me. And that's how I've conceptualized it. Some people go by I don't know if you heard of pronouns like them and they. So it's not like he or she, but it's them or they. Like they have their own thing. You know what I'm saying? And they want to move in a space where they can do whatever it is that they want to do without conforming to what society says that you have to be. Like you got to pick one or the other. But no, I just want to exist. I'm non-binary. You know what I'm saying? Like don't put me in
Right.
either category.
Okay.
Or they could exist in both. You know what I'm saying? Like
Right.
I could be presenting myself as a man today, and tomorrow I could present as a woman.
Right.
But I'm not sticking to either or.
Okay. And I guess the what's the word the desire for someone to want to be identified as non-binary, is that mainly based off of not wanting to be expected to fit into a societal norm, like is it the desire not to be expected to do things that women would normally do or men would normally do?
Right. Or expected. No, but like if I guess the best way that I could think of it, because I don't identify as non-binary, I identify as a man. But and all of these different reasons range for different people. You know what I'm saying? Like sexually, I just don't identify as either or what's presented to me, I don't identify with those. If you're telling me if I have to be a woman, I have to do these things
Right.
to be a woman,
Right.
or I have to do these things to be considered a man, and I don't identify with either of those things, or I can identify with both, then I'm not gonna pick just one side. You see what I'm saying? Like I want you to see me as non-binary.
Right. What are these things?
So starting from birth, you know what I'm saying? Like before you're even born, baby showers. Is it a boy or is it a girl?
Right.
Like the world is already deciding what you're gonna do.
Right.
If you pop the balloon and it's blue, we already know we got the football ready. We got like
Right.
the shorts and the shirt. We got animals in your bedroom. We got I don't know, like the little football caps, your first pair of G Nikes, all of that, right? Pop the balloon, it's blue. Okay. Now you have let's buy the dresses. Oh, she's gonna be a ballerina.
Yeah.
She's gonna do this, she's gonna do that. All of these different things, right? So when you think of someone who's non-binary, they don't conform to either or of those things, so like they can be for them both or neither,
Right.
and I personally, I feel like gender is something that people should decide, just like you should decide religion once you get to familiarize yourself with it. I think there's a lot of things that the world tries to determine for people, and for the average person it works, like
Yeah. Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah.
My life is made 10 times easier because I know what I'm going to be. I know like the world already has it set out,
Right.
so I can just do that. But for people who want to be in the driver's seat, who wants to decide like their own destiny and decide their own likes and dislikes based on who they are as a person, the world doesn't make it easy for those people. Like there was such a big uproar when it was like a phase of parents allowing their sons to wear dresses. Like,
Yeah.
oh my God, why would you do that? Like, you're teaching him to be gay. What?
Right.
Like,
Right.
how is wearing a dress making someone gay?
Right.
Like maybe they just like to put on dresses. But what the world does is it confuses the child, because if the child is like, well, I like dresses, and they're saying if I like dresses, that means I should like men. Or, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
because that's what girls do.
Okay.
So
Okay.
now you're in this big old bubble of confusion because you're like,
yeah.
because I like dresses, I'm supposed to sleep with a man. Like, that's so extreme.
Yo, you said and I see everything that you're saying.
And that's where the option of identifying as non-binary buffers
the utility of it.
Yeah, because I can be non-binary and wear a dress and have the biological makeup of a male,
Yeah.
and still be attracted to women,
Yeah.
even though I like wearing dresses.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, that's there's a freedom in being non-binary. Like, I can decide what it is I want to do, when I want to do it, how I want to do it, and it doesn't affect another decision for me.
Right.
You know.
Right. When the way what you brought up, it brings me to this. I talked about this book in the last podcast. They have a book called is it The Power of Now? You read The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle?
I've heard of it, but I haven't read it.
In this book, he says, somebody asked the question, do you think that being gay makes it easier to reach, because the whole book is about consciousness, and spirituality, and how consciousness and divine being exists in the eternal now, you know, and you get there by unidentifying with your physical self. You unidentify with your thoughts, emotions, and who you are, your possessions, your, all of these physical things. And somebody asked, do you think it's easier for gay people to reach this consciousness because he says, do you think that they're able to reach this consciousness more? And he says, yes, because when they're born into the world, they automatically don't fit into something that's plastered all on the walls as this is what you are. Like you just said, like some people, it's like the world's already set up for them to know who they are. You know what I mean? And he's like, yes, that is definitely an advantage that a lot of homosexual people may have because of their inability to identify with all of these things that are just put there for you to identify with.
Right.
And that was crazy because typically a lot of the homosexual friends that I have, already they're not looking into the Bible, so they're non-religious. They're not identifying with a religious doctrine. And they tend to be artsy, spiritual, and new age spiritual. So that's just something that you just spoke volumes to what I was already like let me see, you know what I mean? He said that and I was like, that makes a lot of sense,
Yeah, again, think about if there were no labels put on you when you were born.
Right.
How much stuff you wouldn't have to undo. Like, and that makes sense what you were saying. Like, if you already don't identify, then you're already creating what you need to create. Like, by the time I was in 6th grade, I had developed a persona that was to protect me and also like my true self.
Okay.
So at this young age, like I had already figured out how to move in this world and how to like pour back into myself, but also protect myself and understand what I got to do to like survive. Right. So like, and I hate to bring this back to race, but it's so interesting now, like when you see like white people not understanding how black people can be so resilient when we've had to be resilient for so long.
Right.
Like, black people have this dual identity. Like when we go home and when we like around each other, we have our own language.
Code
it may
switch.
sound like English, but like if it's certain things that we could say that we understand the meaning to it, that if we say it in public, other people not gonna get it. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's in culture everywhere now, but like even if we say it's lit, you know what I'm saying? Like, if we hadn't explained that to people,
Right.
they really wouldn't know, like, okay, what is
What is-
lighting up
Yeah,
right
yeah,
now?
yeah, yeah.
Like,
What's on fire right now?
right. But because we've had to like create our own language, not create our own language, but like find ways to exist in our own, but also like have this other persona or this other identity to exist in the white world. Like, we're prepared to survive, you know. Um, in my where I work now, we're doing like a lot of work around like undoing racism and creating an environment that's safe for people of color and queer people. And one thing that the leaders of this are interested in is people showing up as themselves to work.
Right.
And if you are not white, then you understand that you cannot show up to work as yourself. You know, like,
Yeah.
and when I say that, I mean, I don't think white people have ever had to think of creating another them, another version of them to like show up at work or show up, period. You know, so it's interesting to see something like that develop and people wanting to
Try and talk.
oh, sorry.
Yeah.
People wanting to like experience or see our true selves. So to bring that back to the point of like being queer and people or getting to this point of awareness or like being conscious of ourselves, I think we have to in order to know how to protect ourselves.
Right.
Like, you got to know who you are.
You can't
So
just
you
hide
can't
into an
mess
identity.
up.
You can't just hide into one of these set up
Right.
physical identities that are made for you. Football team, this and that, blah 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 blah.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I knew what I knew the parts of me that were real that would trigger mainstream society.
Right.
And I had to know that in order to protect myself.
Right.
Like, there are some things that you don't need to do.
Yeah.
If you want to like if you want to survive,
Yeah.
there are some things that you
And
shouldn't
that's,
do.
I mean, with everybody, and then I'm gonna get to the next part. With everybody, once you start to get in touch with your consciousness and you recognize your true self,
Mhm.
you start to realize, oh man, there's a whole lot of this that I can't just do outside. You
Right.
know what I mean? There's a whole lot of, to being a natural, divine human being that isn't set up for you to be able to just do down Canal Street.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, so, so that's interesting. I wanted to ask, where does biology fit into this? Okay, so my idea, like, when the biology conversation comes up, it's like, yo, you have a penis, you're a man. Yo, you have a vagina, you're a woman. So that's just that biologically. Gender, sex, those are two different things I'm hearing.
Yeah.
Okay, and which one is biology? Is either one of those? Yeah, go ahead.
When you think of biology, just think of like parts that work together.
Right.
Parts that work together. Right? Like your plugs, your sockets. You need one to go into the other for it to work. But it's not like, oh, that's a girl, that's a boy. Like, it's like these two things have to exist to make something work.
Yeah.
So like, I'm a being that was born with a penis. You know
Yeah,
what I'm
okay.
saying? Like, and if, okay, so because this is how it gets like really deep, and if you want to like really blow the mind, right? But think if there were never these like identities attached to the person, right? Like, think if you were able to just exist as Ryan. Like, I'm just Ryan.
Right.
There's no like, oh, he's a boy, so he has to do this, he has to do that, he has to do this. But like, when you're born, you're given a name, and that's it.
Right.
And whatever parts you have, I mean, you do that for procreation or like pleasure or whatever, but your genitalia has nothing to do with how you move as a person or like how you express yourself. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, biologically, we we're men. You know what I'm saying? You know, like biologically, we're made up to to have a certain function.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like if you look in the wildlife, like there are animals who are designed to do certain things. You know what I'm saying? Like we are designed to go with, like if you identify as a male, you have like male genitalia. It's designed to go inside of a vagina.
Right. To make the baby.
To make the baby.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
You know, so if you ever decide, like, you know, when you meet somebody, then you know what parts you need to make it work.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But that doesn't mean that
I kind of get what you're getting at.
yeah, like it, because I had conversation and I think a little differently from people. So like I go one step further, you know, like a lot of people kind of stop at the step of biology. You know, if you're born a man, there are certain things that you could do, certain physical capabilities that allow you to do certain things that women can't do.
Yeah.
And this is like the difference between the two, blah, 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 blah. Great. Fine. I understand. Like, I could probably lose weight quicker than women. Or, you know, I don't have to get a mammogram. Or,
Right.
you know, I don't, like, there are certain things that I don't, certain responsibilities I don't have because I'm not biologically a female.
Right.
However, when you think of gender expression and who you are as a person, it doesn't necessarily have to tie to like your genitalia. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I think that's the part that has messed society up, because you have people who literally hate their body.
Yeah.
Because the world said, in order for you to feel like this, you can't have that. In order for you to feel like a man, you cannot have a vagina.
Right.
Like, if you want to feel like a woman, you cannot have a penis. You know, and that's not necessarily true.
Well, I mean, that sounds like what we were talking about the feminine and masculine essence.
Mhm.
Like, I'm wondering how much of that ties into one's decision to maybe choose to identify as something they might not be biologically. Like, you know what I mean? Like I said, I'm a heterosexual male with a decent amount of feminine essence. I don't like sports. I don't like boxing. I don't like the movie 300. I don't like Ip Man. I don't like any of that stuff. I don't know why y'all watch that. I like Steven Universe. I like Kirby. I like stuff like this. But I also like women. You know what I mean? So it's like, I guess my mind ties that to, okay, that might be where that comes in. It's like, what would society be like if we recognized these essences that exist in everyone on a different level, and how would we build society around that?
Right.
You know what I mean?
And I think that would be very important. You know, like, if I wasn't as secure with myself, and I'm only speaking from my experience, I'm not speaking for people, any other person, but like this is just my concepts or like my ideas. If people didn't feel so forced to be binary or to align with whatever that binary is, I feel like you would see more people who were just like comfortable with their energies. Like, I feel like I have feminine energy, and I'm very comfortable with expressing that with my masculine energy. You know, like, I like how the two exist in my body, and I've learned how to appreciate both things. But if I was in an environment that saw me like do this like with my hand,
Yeah.
or like saw me hanging out with my mom at the hair salon, and if I was in an environment with this like toxic masculinity that made me feel like, oh, he's doing this, he must be a punk, he must be a fag. And from that point, seeing that, okay, if I'm identifying more with feminine energy, then maybe I am a woman. You know, like maybe that's what I should transition into.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? If I was in an environment that made me feel not comfortable with my feminine energy.
Right.
But because I was in a, I'm not going to say it was completely supportive, but it wasn't traumatic. You know, like I was in an environment that allowed me to be who I am, you know, so I didn't feel the need to try to like change my sex in order to feel validated or worthy. And again, I'm only saying this because this is like my own personal experience, and I know people of trans experience have different views on it. Like, you know, like imagine waking up seeing your body and just like not being happy.
Right.
You know, because you see someone else and you're like, I want to feel like the opposite sex.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm born in this body that I cannot relate to. Like, I literally just don't feel like it's me. You know, I can't tell you what that feels like. I know what it feels like to like grow up queer and see like, and be in a space where I'm like, I cannot exist.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm so thankful for 2021 and this movement that is going on with queer people. Because if the world was like what it was in 1999, my years in elementary school, I would be miserable.
Right.
You know, like I couldn't see myself existing in a time beyond now, like past now, because it was scary. Like, it was scary to like be someone who was attracted to the same sex.
Right.
You know, like you can go to jail or get committed. You know, like
right.
there's tons of things that could have happened. So I guess again, I can't really speak on like people like the trans experience. But that's just like my personal outlook, is that if people felt more comfortable with just being able to decide when they're ready how they want to identify, then there wouldn't be the need to modify your body. Like,
Yeah, that's one
like,
of the things
you know,
we were talking about. I guess I'm gonna ask both these at once. Explain briefly the pronouns. I guess how many there are. And that's not even a thing. What is the in infinite amount thing? Like, they got something that's like an infinite amount of them.
there's tons of them, and I can't tell you all of them. I could tell you like the main ones. So there's he, him, and his. There's she, her, and hers.
Okay.
There's them and they. Okay, so like there's also like Z and Zer. And
Yeah, what is that?
I'm not.
like, I don't
know. I'm not too hip on it. But like more commonly, people and everyone, like we're normalizing this process, right?
Yeah.
Where people are telling you like what their pronouns are, because again, we're moving into a space where people don't necessarily feel like I should have to modify my body for you to consider me a woman.
Right.
If I tell you today, Ryan, I'm a woman, I want you to respect all of that, and this is how I present myself.
Right.
It may look like I present myself as a man to you today, but that ain't none of your business. If I told you I was a woman, I'm a woman.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what I want to be identified as. Just how if you tell me, and it's just like respecting all types of identities. If you tell me you're pescatarian, I'm not gonna try to like give you pork.
Right.
You know, like
right. It's just being able to do the certain things that society again has built.
Right.
It's really the fact that society has built everything around if you're a man, you can go here, you can do this and be this, and that's the only reason why it's all of this.
Right. Because we're literally going against an outdated structure.
Right.
And people are fed up with it.
Yeah.
Because it's not natural. Yeah,
like, it's not, and I'm starting to understand that a lot more. It's really not as weird as people seem to be making it, or even as it ends up being, because of the kind of combative, like the things like the transitioning. You know what I mean?
Right.
That does tend to bring up a justifiably controversial conversation, and it seems to be only because society is built a certain type of way in which that's like one of the only options to exist. I wanted to ask about the pronouns. I don't know if you're familiar, but they had in Canada they have Bill C-16 that passed. Well, it didn't pass, but it was about to pass, and basically I wanted to ask what's your opinion on how this affects, how pronouns and expecting someone to use certain pronouns affects freedom of speech. Basically, Bill C-16 was like, yo, if you're a college, if you're a professor, you lose your tenure if you choose not to call this transitioned woman a woman. You know what I mean? And stuff like that. There was a big deal about it because it was infringing on people's freedom of speech. What do you think of that, where legislation is passed in which goes against stuff like that and punishing people for that?
I agree with it. Like if you're a college professor, like come on, like if I'm here to learn.
Yeah.
And every time you want me to, can you curse?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it just, if you curse, I'll curse. Like,
okay.
Ray was here. Ray doesn't curse, so I don't curse.
Okay. Look, I'll just say all types of stuff. But imagine, or not imagine, this is the reality, right? Yeah. You have people of trans experience who won't even walk the stage because their universities won't acknowledge their chosen name. And they'll call them by their dead name, which means like the name that were previously given, but they don't identify with. You'll have people who miss out on these like important, monumental like moments in their life where, because institutions won't identify them or recognize them the way that they want to be. And that's messed up. Like if I tell you, call me this, why is that hard?
Yeah.
Like you call me the other name that I told, like, that you met me as, and now I'm changing it. So why can't you, like, now it feels personal. Like now I feel like you're putting your beliefs on me, and I'm not doing that to you. No. So if I see you and now I want to call you asshole, like that's what I want to identify you as, asshole.
Right.
So if you want to call me by my dead name, or you want to call me by the wrong pronouns, I'm going to call you by what I want to call you.
Right.
And essentially that's not right.
Yeah.
So I agree with the bill like that. If it's saying that you lose tenure because you don't want to identify someone as they've requested to be identified as, then that makes sense. Like you're a college professor.
Yeah. Do you care about freedom of speech? Like, and then like thinking of that, like how that would affect all other facets of freedom of speech. Like, say if that were to like carry in the West. Because my opinion is, I understand. Like, you don't want to hurt nobody's feelings. You know what I mean? And if you can avoid it, just do it. You know what I mean? I've met many trans people. I worked with them. I just don't care. Like, I mean, I'll call you whatever you want. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But my opinion on the freedom of speech thing, when it comes to like people saying like shitty things or like being rude, I want you to be able to say whatever the hell you want to say, so I know what you want to say.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I low key, and this might sound a little coonish, I would low key be wanting white people to be able to say niggas so that I can know that you want to say it that bad.
Right. Now, I think there's a difference between freedom of speech, but understanding with that freedom of speech, any consequences that follow
Oh,
that
that's
freedom
why
of
they got that
speech,
Second Amendment.
that's just what it is. So yeah, you can call me the wrong thing. Just understand that there's a consequence that follows it. I'm not saying that you can't say it. I'm just saying that there is a consequence that follows.
You mean
Or like
like the bill?
yeah, like, and the reason why I say it, I believe in freedom
Like,
of
what if
speech.
they made a bill that said you can't say cracker? Well, I mean, not saying that you use that word all the time, but like it just pops up on Twitter and you're not allowed to say cracker no more.
So
Or you go to jail, or you lose your job.
okay, so I don't want to like conflate those two ideas because, well, I mean, I don't want to say cracker, but when if you're saying like, Ryan, call me he, him, his, okay, like that's what I want you to call me that,
Right.
and then you're steadily saying like she, her, she, her, and you're my college professor, then that's an issue because that's like we're going beyond like education. You know what I'm saying? Like you're personally attacking me by blatantly not recognizing me the way that I want to be recognized, versus you like just off the cuff saying, okay, I don't really like trans people, or say something offensive about people of trans experience, whatever. Like that's your freedom of speech. You can say that as long as you're not like, I'm not telling you to recognize me in a certain way. You know what I'm saying? Like that's completely separate. So if there is a bill that's like, you can't say cracker, fine, whatever. You know what I'm saying? It is what it is. But that's different than a bill that's saying we have to penalize you because you're not recognizing someone that they want to be the way that they want to be recognized. So like, and just think about like mentally the trauma that's behind that, and like a change has to start somewhere. So if, and we have stuff like this now, like it's not in laws, but we penalize white people for saying nigga all the time.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like they understand that there is a price to pay if that happens, because that's not something that they have power to do. Like that isn't your place to identify us as that. Right. You know, and we haven't given you that permission. So I feel like a law like that is helpful in a lot of ways because it sets the stage for a lot. So as someone who is someone who's Japanese goes in a class or whatever, and the teacher keeps referencing them as Chinese. You're Chinese. Right. You know, the Chinese people, we have a Chinese student over here. You're like, no, I'm Japanese.
All right.
I'm Japanese. I want you to identify me as Japanese because I'm from Japan. Why aren't you doing that?
Right.
I mean, y'all all look the same.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So like, if you don't have any replication, like any like penalties for people who think like that, then it can spill over in other areas. You know what I'm saying? Like you start with pronouns and then you feel more comfortable with, you know, having a Chinese virus.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That should be illegal to say, because not only like are you putting people in danger, but like it's not. You know what I'm saying? Like it's not true. So like, why do you keep saying it? I believe people should be able to say whatever they want, but like if you have power and you influence things, then there should be consequences if you're not being accurate. Right. You know?
Yeah.
Like it's fair.
Yeah.
Like I don't want people to stop me from like talking, but I'm also the type of person that don't want to say the wrong shit. Like I want to be accurate in what I'm saying. I want people to I want people to feel affirmed about what I'm saying, and if I'm saying it wrong, correct me. I want that type of space to happen, and not everyone feels like that. So yeah, you kind of got to create laws.
Yeah.
I'm definitely like iron fist when it comes to stuff like that. Like I
It's
want.
like, keep talking. I'm about to just check this.
No, it's cool. Like I want people to be able to have freedom of speech,
Yeah.
but that's a privilege. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
it's a privilege, especially with social media going on now.
It's like yeah, that's the crazy thing about it. It's like social media has done so much damage. It's like one of the things that I always say when this conversation comes up is there's gonna be pushback. I mean, these people have been living in the 70s and the 80s and the 90s, and life is built, society is built a certain type of way, and it's there's gonna that pushback is to be expected, and it's also like sometimes I be feeling like well, and I don't want to Jeff for them, but like it's a little unfair that they grew up. I mean, they grew up in a world where they learned everything that way, and now it's just not that no more. You know what I
Right.
mean? And now they can lose their job for it. The job that they got by learning all of this stuff that was that way.
Right.
So I always say we're in the middle. We're playing middleman to the cosmos, like in which a lot of things are changing. I don't even know if we're gonna be around for the time where everything is just flowing perfectly with the new thing.
No.
You know?
I think we are awakening.
Yeah.
We're just awakening. And I think I was telling one of my friends, like if you really want to see change, or if you really want to be a part of change, you have to be ready to see it. Well, you have to be prepared to know that you may not be able to see it. Like your grandkids will see it.
Yeah.
Like if you want to start the work now and like get everything rolling, you got to understand that we're in deep.
Yeah, we're in
like
deep.
400 years of this, like
More than that.
right. You know what I'm saying? Like this stuff is ingrained deep.
Yeah.
And it's not going to take 100 years to like undo it. Like or the 50 years we have like working as human beings, like the 50 years we have to like really work on stuff like this.
Yeah, it's like, and I want to get to the next one soon, but like there's some points I want to just say. It's like with the social media thing and with like, I know I didn't lose my train of thought. The social media thing, it's like I want to say it right, and I can't think of the exact words that I was about to say, so hopefully that comes back. I was gonna say something along the lines of like we're playing. Okay, so we're I believe that everything is the world is exactly the way it's supposed to be right now. There is times of work to be done in which things change over time. It's happened many times in history, and social media just plays this role where it's like this hostility about it. You know what I mean? This hostility between ideologies is just so rampant. And I guess I could just say I feel like that's why these types of conversations are important. So y'all can see that these kinds of conversations can be had. People are having these kinds of conversations, and we can get to the bottom of some of this stuff. Like I feel like a lot of this, let the legislation figure it out, bro. Like don't just kill everybody on social media for saying, you know what I mean? It's like it's just a lot going on right now.
It is, but I think we're also moving into a space where people aren't understanding their responsibility.
Yeah.
Like, yes, you want people to have freedom of speech, but you also need people to understand the responsibility that holds. Like we don't just talk anymore. Like if we're talking, there's action behind it.
Yeah.
People want to see movement. People want to see something happen. So when you are talking, or like you're saying things that that are problematic, you know, without wanting to change or like have an open mind about it, you can be very dangerous.
Yeah.
Like, and you can inspire people, like look at what happened January 6th, like by Trump just talking. Like, he is the epitome of free speech and what free speech can do.
Gone wrong.
Right. You know what I'm saying? Like, he didn't press a button. He didn't he actually didn't do much. It was just his words that gave people that hope, like that courage to be who they are, and we can see how that turns out, like we were damn near about to have a civil war.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I think that's still coming.
Biden came in and they simmered it.
Yeah.
Like I said, that was some powers at the top that was like, all right, we can't.
Yeah.
Trump about to mess up the bag. We can't have him do that.
Yeah.
America cannot go down. We already ghetto. We can't go down.
Yeah.
But I think that's like the biggest, again, the biggest example of how freedom of speech can start some stuff. Like, it's not just like, oh, well, you should speak your mind so I can know where you stand. But like, if you got power and you got influence, you can really hurt people. Like, I don't know if this is one of your topics, but with like what just happened with the baby.
We're gonna get to that. All right. but like, since you touched it a little bit, I want you to talk about, and then we're not too far away from that.
Mm-hmm.
The desire to modify. We've covered that. That's based off of the way society is built.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you want to be able to exist in a certain space as who you believe you are, and society doesn't allow for that. That causes people to feel they need to modify, and the way they modify is through transitioning, and what comes with transitioning is hormones and these prescription medications and things like this, like testosterone blockers and stuff like that. I wanted to talk a little bit about that with the and we talked about it a little bit, the trans athlete thing, trans women apparently dominating these sports, and my personal opinion on, and I'm no doctor, so don't attack me. Don't attack me. That's what I mean. I gotta like that's the thing. It's like I will get attacked by PhD Twitter. You know what I mean? I will. Like, what is he talking about? He doesn't know. My opinion, from my experience, is I think that we don't eat healthy enough, and we don't do healthy enough things to go straight to medication, like for basic health things like depression and stuff. I have my own theory about what depression is. You know, I mean, mental illnesses, mild mental illnesses, not nothing like, like autism and stuff like this, or like, but like, I feel like I have my own opinion in which I'm not a big fan of prescription medication of any kind. So when it comes to these conversations about taking hormones and transitioning, it seems like that might, from my opinion, is a little counterproductive health-wise, and could be dangerous. And then that comes the conversation, and hopefully this doesn't tie too much together. The children. This is a conversation that comes up. The children being able to just pop up and say, "I'm a woman now," and now you're, and I don't know if this happened. Like, I just hear this being said a lot. Now you're just giving them testosterone blockers and stuff at 6 years old because they said that they are a woman.
Okay.
It's like, what do you think about all of this? And
so I'm gonna talk about the children first.
Okay.
Because it is such an important. It's like buzzwords. Like, the first time like you hear someone's like a child saying they want to transition, of course, main society, aka Boosie, don't cut your dick off. Like,
don't cut your right.
And this is the thing that I hope people can understand. Transitioning is so much harder once you've went through puberty. So before puberty, we basically all look the same. You know, like as far as like without clothes, like is except for vagina, penis, we all pretty
Right.
much look the same, right? So first off, when people decide to transition, they have to go through like a year of counseling. Then you have to get like your insurance company to approve something like this, and you have to go through like all these different trials to like mental mental checks for people. I mean, for insurance companies to like approve these procedures and hormones and all of this different stuff, right? So like it's multiple phases. It's never just I wake up one day, I want to be the opposite sex, I'm on the table the next day. Like
Right.
that's not how that works. Not when it's done in a healthy way in in the medical field. Like of course like people get they modify their bodies in the underground world. But if we're talking about safe medical procedures, especially with kids, there's a year of counseling to talk about their identity and working through it. Like, is this something that you really want to do? Where is this coming from? Or like, there's a lot of things that are put in place before you can even get to
Cutting your dick.
right. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of processes that has to happen before you even get to that point. So I imagine. So just to bring up Zaya Wade, shout out to her. I'm assuming the first step would be testosterone blockers. So you do that for a period of time. You're stopping your testosterone. That's all you're doing. You're stopping puberty from basically going on.
Right.
There's no cutting of any parts. It's just
Okay, yeah.
we're stopping the voice from dropping. We're stopping your hands from getting big. We're stopping your head from getting big. You know?
Right.
Once you get past this whole like therapy sessions, then you get your estrogen. So now like you start to like have like this the woman hormone in your body. So like this is before we're slicing or anything, before tables are even talked about.
Right.
Right? So when this happens when this happens before puberty, this person, this individual can grow up as they would have if they were born the opposite sex.
Right.
So there's not necessarily
Okay.
like there's some some people of trans experience. I have to remember to say that right. People of trans experience that you may see and you'll be like, I would have never known. Like never.
Oh, because they did it like early
You
in
can
age.
start right.
Right.
You know? So like when you start earlier, it stops all these different processes from happening. And it allows that person to live like a normal life. Not saying that trans people don't live normal lives, but it allows them to assimilate better.
Right.
Like
Right.
when they go to high school, they can be identified how they would normally want to be identified. You know, like you wouldn't question it if you
Right.
see them in school and, you know, that's just a regular person going through puberty. That's what it looks like.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So that's like for me, that's why I advocate for something like that to happen before puberty, because your child can they don't have to do all of this work of undoing of the like assimilation of being the opposite sex or the sex that they don't want to be. You know what I'm saying? Like you made me go through high school identifying as a man, and then I finally leave the house at 18. Now I have to like soften up the muscles. I gotta like hide my hands. I gotta like wear wigs that come down from my natural hairline because now my head has like exploded. You know what I'm saying? So like there's like small things that happen because of because people transition after puberty. So
Okay.
that
Well, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
I can't. Okay. Well, I Well, what you said, I want to ask, is there a natural, because my whole issue is with prescription medication in general.
Mm-hmm.
There's always some sort of side effects. Are there side effects to these things? And is there a holistic testosterone blocker?
So I'm not necessarily like I'm not too well
You know how
versed
they
on
say,
that.
like, you can get antidepressants in tomatoes or some shit. You know what I mean?
So I think so. Hormones are slightly different than like fabricated like, medications, right?
Okay.
So like we naturally produce estrogen, we naturally produce testosterone. I'm not sure what the drug is that blocks testosterone, but that is so if you can start transitioning before puberty, that can be the most natural way someone can transition because they'll naturally start growing breasts, or they will naturally not grow breasts because they're taking testosterone, or like their voices would naturally go deeper or naturally go higher if this is done before puberty.
Right.
So like if you wait until after, then of course you got to do more work. You got to go to like the plastic surgeon. You got to get this here. You got to get this shaved down. You got to, in order to look like what you want to look like,
Right.
You might want it like you might get jaw implants to have like more of a masculine face, or like so like there's a lot of things that happen. I know like a lot of female to male transitioning people, like they have to get their breasts removed, and like yeah, so like it's a whole process that has to happen if puberty happens before they're able to transition.
Oh, yeah.
So just to answer your question, I don't think that there's like a holistic way to transition.
Whoever finds that is gonna be like the man, like
And then there's just some people who naturally have more estrogen. Like some men just have more estrogen than the average guy. Like
Right.
there's some people who truly present as they look non-binary, naturally look androgynous, and you really wouldn't know until you ask, like, so like,
Right.
how do you identify? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like there's this one person, extremely beautiful, non-binary, and just naturally, like no work done, no like medication or anything, but they are naturally the both, like, which is it's mind blowing. Like I'll show you a picture, but like they are like, I don't know what this is.
Yeah.
Like they're so beautiful, but I don't think that there is a natural way to transition. I think that you do have to, especially like because there's body parts that feed into that, like your testes, like they pump testosterone into your body,
Right.
so like you got to stop it some kind of way. You can't naturally stop that,
But ultimately, like we said, it's society. The way society is built is what leads people to want to modify and transition. And if society was built a different way, which it seems we're on the road to, people could just. You think people would even want to?
I don't think so.
Like, would they be okay with having breasts if society didn't deem them woman that has to do that? It would just be like
So
whatever.
again, think about it. If there was no gender, what would there be to transition to?
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
I'm just a Jourdan. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I'm doing what I want to do every day.
Yeah.
However I want to do it.
Multi-dimensional spiritual being having a human experience.
Basically.
It goes back to that. Understanding that kind of stuff, it makes you really open your mind to, I kind of see where that makes sense.
Right.
Man.
So like, and again, this is not to diminish anyone of trans experience, but not even but, and I'm saying if society wasn't this binary situation where we were like categorizing people to either man, woman, then I feel like people would be less inclined to transition. because it's not a pressure to assimilate, like to something. And this is just my ideas. I would love to hear someone a trans experience to talk about this. Yeah. But yeah, like now, like think about education. If there was no like, if I was born today, there would be so many options for me to where I don't need to go to college to know I'm gonna be successful. You know what I'm saying? Like, or I don't have to get a trade to be successful. Now I go on social media and work it out, or like now I can think of just developing a personality because that's what makes money. Or, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's so many options to where I don't feel like I need to tell somebody to go to school now or tell somebody to go to trade school. Like, there's so much you can do. And I think we're like moving into this space where we're just determining our faith and we're breaking from this polarized society. I think everything is becoming more fluid, more circular. I think we're seeing it in politics. I think we're seeing it in race. I think we're seeing it just across the board where we're not so hell-bent on being one or the other. Like, I can't tell you anyone who 100% agrees with being Republican or Democrat. Yeah. Like, everyone's kind of like,
yeah, that's the thing that I talk about too. It's like fam.
I'm in something.
But then that's where I come to the social media thing. It's like,
yeah,
if I act like if I don't fully identify with this side, then somebody's gonna attack me, and it could be somebody I know. Like, I got into an argument with one of my. Turns out he's a Trump supporter. Arguing with him, one of my homies, super duper left, arguing with him, and it's all on social media. When we right in front of each other, it don't be none of that. Right. It be level-headed conversation. So that's just where I think social media, exasperates a lot of these things.
It definitely gives people the cojones. people feel, yeah. That's why I tend not to get into it because it ain't real.
Yeah,
it ain't real.
Well, that's good, man. Look, we're at an hour. We will be doing a part 2, and the next one is gonna be real fun. This one's gonna be fun. All right, so this is part 1 with Jourdan Barnes. I hope you guys enjoyed it. This is the Ryan Report podcast. Peace out.
See y'all.